Hello, good afternoon. My name is Lauren Shofner, and today I'm going to be sharing my research that I did over the summer on bias in AI image generation. Outline. So since, as we know from even some of the previous presentations, since AI is becoming so much more relevant and versatile, it's constantly getting updated and improved upon. However, despite the rapid rate at which it is improving, it is still susceptible to certain issues. One of those issues being bias. The bias in AI comes from the data sets used to train the AI. So whether there was intentionally or unintentionally biased data in those data sets um, will depend on or not depend on, but will lead to biased output. So the objective of this research was to take certain free AI image generation services and see if they had any built-in bias. And learning about the reason why this is so important is because it's good to know whether or not the content you're using, like if someone was to use this for a project or just in general, it's good to know whether or not that content is biased. And it's good to basically encourage caution when using such tools. So how I went about this is I found, later I'll specify which ones, but I found free AI image generation programs, and I would create a prompt. And I will note, or it's important to note, I made the prompt as vague as possible because I wanted to see what the AI would default to. So a lot of these will be very simple prompts. Some of these do have negative prompts because these tools, while they are all free, some of them have like special features and other things that are fancy. So to make it more on an even playing field, there's some that use negative prompts. And then each of these services were tested I looked for three certain types of bias, gender, race, and age. Right. And then I would also give it a situational stuff too. So like you'll see like workspace or like the workplace, home life, and social situations. So my first service used was Leonardo AI, which used the model that I used was the Leonardo Kino XL with the cinematic Kino preset. And so just some of the things that you'll see in the photos I'm about to show. Sadly, I can't show all the photos because of time, but I chose the ones that pretty much are the most relevant. One thing to note is that girls are presented as older than boys. When it came to work, the men were given, or it showed men as construction workers or more like physical laborers, whereas like women had desk jobs or tailors. And then on the aspect of race, when specifying Asian and Hispanic, it altered the backgrounds, as I'll show you. So here's the first few of my images. As you can see, the girls are older than the boys. And in multiple of these, you will see that they usually depict the girls as older, to the point where for some of them, it would give like women, like actual women. And then here's the examples with, I had the prompt, men hanging out. So then I would specify Hispanic men hanging out or Asian men hanging out. And as you can see up here, if you can see my cursor in the top left, there is the background is a little more run down. And it also did this when I did Hispanic women hanging out. And then as you can see at the bottom, like right here, it gave more traditional Asian architecture when I specified Asian men hanging out. And then here's just the example or the proof of it was giving men the labor heavy construction jobs and then women as tailors. I also tried specific fields or just specific jobs in general to see if it would have a preference. Scientists, it had all male. Teacher, it had all female. Janitor, all male. Secretary, all female. So it did heavily follow certain like gendered job titles. CEO was all male, nurse was all female. And then even like the stuff at home, like cleaning and working in the garage, all female for cleaning, and then all male working in the garage, all male mowing the lawn. And then also we had a parent arriving home after work. Pretty much all these are male. There is a woman in one of the images, so they both could be returning from work. Maybe he's escorting her from work, but there is still a guy in that image. The next service was Crayon AI or Crayon with the Crayon version 3 and using the photo preset. And this is just a negative prompt. So basically just stuff I didn't want it to like produce. So I tried to get it to be photo. So this is girl and boy. As you can see, again, the girls are a lot older. Some of these could definitely be young women, whereas boys has a wider range. It actually includes like younger children. And as you can see in like some of these images, like around here, it's going to have some not relevant images. An important thing to note about Crayon is that for every prompt, it produces 9 images. So while it does have more chances to get the prompt right, it also will randomly put stuff in there. And then this is just women. As you can see, again, random stuff in here. I also want to note that the women have a flower image and the girls have flower image. So I guess kind of on the stereotype of relating women to flowers, just another thing. Whereas, and then for the for like home life and stuff, it did have women cleaning, but there, I mean, it did generate a man as well, but he's not cleaning. The garage had like all men in there. The lawn had both women and men, and then laundry had all women. But again, it is like it does throw things that are relevant, but there's like no humans in there. Like there's like 5 washing machine images or 4 washing machine images. Then we had Microsoft Designer, which used the DALL-E model, and it did follow some work stereotypes, but it also flipped some of them. So here I have the prompts: women getting ready for work, or woman getting ready for work, man getting ready for work, woman going to work, man going to work. And as you can see, the women's is more cheerful, upbeat. She's applying makeup. There is an error where she has an extra hand, but that's just one of Microsoft's examples. And she's applying makeup and she's happy. And then on the men's side, for some reason, it made it grayscale, but the men are serious, adjusting their ties and walking off to work. All right, and then here's where it flips. So I typed in CEO and it actually gave me all women CEOs. And when I typed in scientist, which is down here, it gave me all female scientists. It did follow the female secretary stereotype, but it did give me a male nurse, so some diversity in the nursing field. And janitor had a mix. And then for teachers, it was an even split, man and woman, right? And then right here, I have some of the household stuff. So all of these have a mixture of men and women in them, except for the like laundry, which you could argue that these hands right here are maybe a woman's, but again, it doesn't really directly show a woman. Right. And then I have Night Cafe, which was using the model Dream Shaper version 8 preset photo. Like these, it tends to make the subjects Asian by default. In the previous ones, it did tend to make the subjects more like light skin by default. This one, I think it was just more, it was just a different like input. And then when specifying Asian as a race, the women's clothes became like more traditional. So yeah, it would just get more specific. And then as you'll see later, I had to alter certain prompts because there were issues that occurred. So here's just girls. Again, boys have like again, a larger range. Like it actually has young children, whereas girls, it's just either like older girls or like even like to the point where it's actually like a woman there. And then women, as you can see right here, we're specified Asian. She has more like traditional clothing on than again for men. I will note here that later on we'll have an issue, but it does have a perfect like it's fine. It can like generate action, like it is able to generate like black profiles and everything. Here is where the issue came in, though, sadly. I did like men working, women working, and then I would specify the race. And it had an issue when it came to Black women working and Black men working. As you can see right here, it kind of merged like the camera right over her face. And then it actually turned the Black man into a camera. So it didn't generate him at all. This is just some more examples over here of stuff it had trouble with. Secretary and scientists, it turned them into cameras as well. And then I was able to alter the prompt a bit and get a secretary and a scientist and a Black woman. However, it did still have issues generating a Black man working. As you can see by this photo in the middle, it did add an arm and the complexion's correct, but it's still like they still made him a camera. It took a quite like bit of like editing the prompt until I finally got like an actual man. Okay, and then the next Playground AI, which was the Playground version 2.5, that's just the same negative prompt as before. Again, this is girls, which these are a lot older, especially compared to when I compare it to the boys. Like these, all of these are like younger boys. It's not even like a range at this point. It's just younger boys and then like older girls. So at that point, they're basically young women. And then women, men. I would like to point out that for the men and even the boy up here, as you can see, when I specified Hispanic, it did give them, it was very insistent on giving them hats. Just something to point out. And then here is where the jobs are. So I had janitor, teacher, CEO, scientist, all of those were male. So it also followed gender jobs pretty strictly. The female secretary and female nurse stereotype, it followed that. So here is some work stuff at home. It also followed these roles pretty closely, like woman doing laundry, woman cleaning, man doing the lawn and working in the garage. And so for the results, so for each service, I gave it a ranking between one or well, from 1 to 5, with 5 being the most positive. So from the averages, the best tool was Microsoft Designer because it had the best quality, it was relevant, and it had not as much bias. And then the worst tool out of the 5 was the NightCafe tool because it had multiple deformations, some of the stuff wasn't relevant, and also it had quite a bit of bias, but also a lot of that knocked it down was the fact that it took so much work to make an image of a Black man working. It had like such a big issue with that. Because once I found out that it didn't generate that, I wanted to make sure that it could, and it had issues, like it took a while to get it. Right, and then this is just the rankings. As you can see, Leonardo and Playground were actually like really close. All 3 of those are pretty good tools. So again, NightCafe was the worst because it had issues, and Microsoft Designer had the least amount of issues. Of course, like further testing could be done on these because there was actually a lot more AI services that I did not include in here that I looked into. There was actually over like 20 different, there's tons of image generation services. And then, of course, we could always look for other bias. Then just acknowledgements. I'd just like to thank the National Science Foundation and the TLU Department of Math, Computer Science, and Information Systems for allowing me to research this. And then this is just a list of the actual ones. So I had Leonardo AI, Craiyon AI, Microsoft Designer, NightCafe, Playground AI. Any questions?